everyone. Welcome back to Build. I'm your host, Brittany Jones-Cooper. Our next guest is Tony nominee Ephraim Sykes, who stars as David Ruffin in Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations. The show follows the group's rise from the streets of Detroit to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, using their most iconic chart-topping hits to tell the story. Take a look.
I guess you say what can make me feel this way, my girl. Talking about my girl. I know you wanna leave me, but I refuse to let you go. If I have to beg and plead for your sympathy, I don't mind, 'cause you mean that much to me. Ain't too proud to beg, and you know it. Please don't leave me, girl, don't you go. Ain't too proud to leave me, baby. Don't leave me, girl, don't you go. But my life is incomplete and I'm so blue, 'cause I'm bringing you the love that's true, so get ready. I'm gonna try to make you love me too. So get ready, 'cause here I come. Get ready, 'cause here I come now.
Put your hands together for Ephraim Sykes. I am so pumped to get to chat with you. I saw Ain't Too Proud a couple weeks ago, and it was one of the most dynamic things I've ever seen on Broadway. You guys, I can tell every night, just leave it all out on the stage. It's such, I mean, the show is so much fun from beginning to end. It must be exhausting.
Oh, completely.
Yeah, so first, just thank you for doing that every night, because as an audience member, it was like definitely worth the price of the ticket, you know what I mean?
That's what's up. That's what's good to hear.
Yeah. Before we get into the show, though, I want to just chat with you a little bit. You went to the Met Gala last night,
Yeah, who would have thought?
right?
I don't know who I tricked to let me be in this, but yo.
You and the guys.
Anna Wintour came to the show like yourself and loved it. And then about a week later, we get this invite like, oh, come to the Met Gala. That's casual, you know? And then Tom Brown heard about us through my stylist, actually. He's like, I would love to dress you guys. I was like, what is happening in my life? So then this happened last night. Yeah, it was really, really nuts.
I love it. And did you guys get to add any personal flair, or was this you were styled by?
All the clothes he styled, but we all did our little personal things with like the hair. So like, see, I had my little crazy. I did a little Prince Akeem, little coming to America situation. I actually I'm from Florida, so you know we're a little country down there. I had a little gold grill at the bottom, little things like that I put my own little stink on.
Did you have any starstruck moments?
I absolutely was shook when Anderson .Paak walked up behind me. I was like, bruh, I'm sorry, but shake your hand real hard. I love you. And it was actually really dope. We like went Millie rocking into this party together. I really flipped out over Janelle Monáe. That happens. Serena Williams was the first hand I shook at the top of the stairs, and I wasn't ready. There's a number of different times where I might have messed them pants up. So
You just named the three people that I would probably be the most geeked out over.
yeah,
too.
that's like, how do you prepare for that?
I don't know.
It was impossible.
Anderson's last album was so good.
Yo.
And on top of this, you're having just like kind of a really big couple weeks here. You also were nominated for a Tony.
Good God.
For your role in Ain't Too Proud.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
So for the Tony for the Best Featured Actor in a Musical. So what was it like getting that news?
Like that? Like, what do I say? It was 8:30 in the morning when they made these announcements on Tuesday. So I was asleep dang near, but I have to take care of my body throughout the show, right? Because I do a lot of heavy physical stuff. So I actually have a standing 9 o'clock massage therapy appointment. This dude that comes and like kills me every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. So I was like, you might as well go ahead and wake up and like watch this. So I turned my iPad on. I had like one eye open, and I was just kind of like, really listening for my boy Derek Baskin, who plays Otis, our lead. I was like, I need him to get nominated, please, God. So once they announced his name, I was like, okay, I don't care about nothing else. And I stayed open, my eye open just long enough to like hear my name. And like I felt the shock go from my head literally through my toe. And it started to weep a little bit, yeah. A little couple of tears. And then we all FaceTime, myself, Jeremy, we FaceTime and just screaming. He's got nominated for 2, the first time in like, he's the 6th person ever to get, nominated for 2 Tonys in the same season, and it's his Broadway debut. And then my brother Derek, who's like, I made my Broadway debut with him, like, and he literally lives around the corner from me. He was my first acting coach. He's literally taking care of me like he's a real brother. And to just experience such a full circle moment of us all getting to just be able to do this night by night together. We could have never dreamt being able to do such a strong, powerful show, but also be 5 black male leads on Broadway at the same time and play brothers, and he's actually my brother, you know what I mean? And then get nominated on the same day. It was just like, I was overwhelmed, completely overwhelmed at 8:30 in the morning. And trying to figure out how to go about my life from there. So I think the massage helped after that. Yeah.
I mean, can you even relax during the massage? The
No,
show
he was
also
like,
got
breathe.
12 nominations.
And the show
right?
literally got nominated for everything it could possibly get nominated for. And it's just like, it was such a moment. So I tried my best to breathe through it, and it's like he killed my hamstrings, and that kind of helped open my mind. But yeah, man, it was a crazy day that I'm still coming to terms with.
Yeah. I mean, when I heard the news about all the nominations, it really did feel well-deserved because, like I said, the show was such a joy to watch. I want to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
You said you knew Derek, but what was the audition process for you?
It was crazy. So moment one, I just finished Hairspray Live, right? I came back to New York to like kind of get my things together, because after that happened, like LA, Hollywood was like buzzing. They were like, my agents, managers were like, yo, they are dying for you out here. I had like maybe 20 to 30 meetings that next day with every major network and blah, blah, blah. So they were like, you need to be here at least for pilot season. Did all of that. I came back to New York, and I'm like getting my stuff ready. I'm saying, Derek, meet me at the park. I'm walking my dog. I have a little fat bulldog. So Derek meets me at the dog park this night, and I get this email from my agent saying, hey, come audition they want you to see you for David Ruffin and Ain't Too Proud. And I had never heard about it. And I was like, well, David Ruffin? Hell yeah. And he's like, Ephraim, I'm playing Otis. I'm the lead. You have to do this. He's literally standing at me when I first got even the audition for it. So cut to, I get to LA, and I was just like, because they were doing a workshop first and going to Berkeley and like doing this whole thing. And I was just like, well, I'm supposed to be in LA. I'm supposed to be doing this pilot season. My agents and managers like, this is your time for like television and film and things, like, let's push, strike the iron while it's hot kind of thing. And I ended up going to the audition anyway. They actually came out to LA to see a couple guys, and myself included. And I go through it. I had to sing first. And then luckily, I knew the music director. He worked on with me and Derek in Memphis. And I also knew the choreographer from Memphis as well. So they kind of walked in. They're like, yo, you're here, blah, blah, blah. So they're really excited. So I sang this music first, and they're like, oh, that was good. Can you put some rasp on your voice like David? And I was like, I don't know. So I tried some stuff out, and it worked, I guess. And then I ended up dancing. That was fine. And read the sides in front of Dominique Morrisseau, who was our script writer, and really had a great connection with her as well. And I got a call that night from my choreographer, like, Ephraim, we're going to give you this part. We need you to do it. And I was like, Sergio, I got to be here in LA right now, though. Can I do it later? He was like, no. So, yeah, that was my first audition on almost my first day in LA. And I turned right around and came back and started this beast.
I think you made the right call.
I know I did. It was actually, I talked to Derek that night when I got the call after Sergio called me. And I said, Derek, I don't know what to do, man. He's like, here, I'm going to send you the script. Read the script first and see how your heart feels. And I remember reading through the script, and I was playing the music, the Temptation soundtrack, like along with it, so I could just get a feel of sort of the oral space of the show, however you pronounce it. And I remember a couple moments that I was reading her beautiful words, so poetic, and before I got to the part where I was supposed to play the next song, I could hear it already. I already knew what it should be, and I was like, I started crying on this couch. I just so connected to this piece and to this man's life, his story. She humanizes these men in such a beautiful, honest, hilarious way that I was like, it was like God spoke to me in that moment. It's like, you have to do this. It doesn't matter what TV or film stuff, because I guarantee you won't get this sensation doing anything else right now. So I had to follow my heart on it.
It just seemed like serendipity. I mean, obviously you knew a lot of the people involved.
Yeah, it
You've
really
done
was.
Motown in previous
Yep.
shows, and so it sort of just seemed like meant to be.
Yeah.
And to see you play David Ruffin, who is this iconic man. I mean, his
Yeah.
performances were always so vibrant. And what sort of did you do to prepare to take on him? Because his energy was just so huge.
Yeah, well, of course, I watched all the clips you could possibly watch of the Temptations, but I've been doing that since I was a kid. Like, we grew up on this music. They were the definition of cool to me, even as a millennial. You know what I mean? I grew up with my granddaddy and my dad watching these cats, and it's just like they were swag personified, and the sound, and also, but like they all came from the gospel church, like myself, and doing more research and like, having a sort of such wealth of information that is Otis Williams, who is still alive, the last living Temptation, who gives us his heart. Like, every time we see him, he tells us everything. He's just a wealth of knowledge, and I could talk to him about what this man was really like. I got to talk to even some of David's family, and Motown is a Motown family, and they will tell you about, if you're in the family, they'll tell you all about each other and what it really was like. So I got to really get some firsthand knowledge, because a lot of Ain't Too Proud, the Temptations, Motown stories, all folklore. You know what I mean? There's not a lot written about these men and women. It's all about what your grandma said when she saw him, and what this person knew when they met him one time. You know what I mean? So it's kind of this cool, like, spoken Black history. So I got a lot of my research from there, because not only did I want to nail down his sound and his moves, that's kind of the easy part, but I really wanted to explore, because David is almost infamous. He's notorious in this way, this bad boy, this egomaniac, this drug addict, you know what I mean, this woman beater, all of these things. And people, even in the movie, and they do it well in the movie too, my man Leon, I got to meet him on opening night. Like, he's always been like my David Ruffin. So a lot of people, as we do with a lot of our artists, we skip out on their humanity, and we just paint them as these legends. We hold them on these pedestals, and then we wonder why they fail, because, we don't see them as human as we are. So I really wanted to get into, why was he like that? Who hurt him? You know what I mean? So to start to hear about the abuse he suffered as a child from his own father, the things that he saw, and then knowing the racism that he experienced, of course, coming out of the South like myself, his father being a pastor, there's ways that I related to this man that I'm like, I know how you were hurt. And I know how the ways that sometimes young Black men, especially when we're hurt like that, we buck up even more. You know what I mean? We put on this persona, we put on this cool and this swag that's to cover up and mask a lot of pain that we don't even know we're masking. We just run away. This is the first song of the show, is Runaway Child. We run away from our pain a lot of times, just to survive. So I wanted to start there, and then understand, like, that's why he sounded the way he sounded. He was screaming from his heart, you know what I mean? And just covering up with a lot of swag and cool. So it was like that kind of research.
Yeah, and like you said, it's there in the writing too. He's such a vulnerable character, even though he's got this bravado and this confidence. There's a moment where he's really kind of hit a rock bottom, and he's like, I don't know what's wrong for me, pray for me.
Yeah.
And that was just almost all you had to say, because you understood the turmoil that this really talented, gifted man was going through.
Exactly. It's like, at that point, he finally noticed, like, I know there's something wrong with me, and I can't figure it out, and I can't solve it. And you give up on yourself. That's how you dive headfirst into drugs. That's how we lose our artists to suicide and to drug addiction like that, because you kind of give up on yourself. You find yourself a lost cause, and you almost. I have this image sometimes when I'm doing the show of, like, I'm a grenade, and all of my friends that love me, I have to, as much as I love you, I have to keep myself away from you, because at some point I know I'm going to explode or implode, and I can destroy everybody else around me. So let me just leave you all. You know what I mean? It's just really heartbreaking, but also a very fulfilling, therapeutic, satisfying moment to be able to tell a story that's that layered.
Yeah, and then obviously all the stuff he's going through, it seemed like he was able to become somebody else on stage and really perform.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your performance as him.
Yeah.
It was otherworldly watching you spin and do the splits and throw up a mic and catch it. I mean, your sweat, I was like sitting pretty close. I could see you sweating. I could just see the physicality in the role.
Yeah.
I did some research. You trained at Alvin Ailey.
Yeah, that was
So how much did being a classically trained dancer kind of prepare you for this
I mean, it's the reason why I'm sitting here talking to you right now in the way that, like, I can still walk after a show, because going to Ailey, not only fortified my body in terms of, like, how to use technique, classical technique, to know, all right, if I'm going to do a split and I'm going to drop to my knees and do all these different things and lean and fall backwards, I should engage this muscle versus this muscle, because if I do the wrong muscle, I'll injure myself. I can't do it 8 times a week. So I know how to do these things that look hard, make them look easy, but because I'm using the correct sort of technique for it, that people like David didn't even know how to do, but he still was doing it way back then.
Think about the knee pain he probably had.
I couldn't imagine the knee, but then we have like Melvin Franklin, who died because he was taking cortisone shots. Like, it's major pain. You know what I mean? Excuse the pun, but yeah, man. So, but also Ailey is a place that through the technique and through the training, they teach artistry, and an artistry that's not showy. It's not like, look at me, how high I jump and split. Like, yeah, you do all that, but like where it stems from. So I've always kind of grown up to be that kind of performer, because my teachers there taught me how to like just close my eyes and sort of, it's art. You know what I mean? And art is a spiritual thing, whether it's dancing, singing, music, whatever the case is, acting. Really, art is coming from that spiritual place to create like that. So when you're dancing, everything, all of my movement, even just doing a simple movement, had to come from like the most internal place, and that's what captures somebody's eye. That's what captured my eye. My favorite artists didn't have to do 13 pirouettes. They could stand still, and I couldn't watch anything but them, like that kind of artist. So that's what I always strive to be. That's what I was taught to be. And then I could bring that into sort of, because I never really studied acting that much, but I knew like, well, if that's what I have to do with dancing, then I have to figure out how to apply it to saying words. So I'm still working on that.
And singing, you're doing this rigorous dance routine. Yeah. And again, I think you do a lot of the heavy lifting with the dancing, right?
True.
So what kind of work did you have to do to learn how to sing and do all of that?
Oh, man. Well, I kind of grew up singing in a way. Like, my mother's a gospel singer. My dad's a pastor. I'm a musician. I grew up in church playing. I was in every gospel choir my mom was always the gospel choir director since I could walk, pretty much. So it's kind of been in my blood. But singing like this, really, and I've never had to do so much lead singing. I've been taking a lot of voice lessons over the past, since, Hairspray, of course, and even when I was doing Hamilton and stuff like that, even back into the Motown days, just because I love singing and I want to learn how to do it better, especially learning how to sing in church is one thing, but doing it 8 times a week on Broadway is a whole different beast.
In the splits,
while sweating, and there's a lot of other factors that go into it than standing in my robe and just like, giving it to the Lord on a Sunday. So I had to go somewhere to somebody teach me, like, how do I let this sound out with my voice, my sort of artistic input, but also not ruin it. But then for this guy, I had to really learn a lot about tension. And that's one thing that I can be a hard worker, but also sometimes how working hard can get in your way. And that sometimes singing is about release. Singing is about breath and flow. And I'm like, oh, so it doesn't have to be so hard, even though it sounds that hard. And then you learn I have to learn what my blocks are and all that kind of stuff. I'm working with an amazing singing teacher right now that, like, every time I meet with her, I meet with her twice a week, and I find out something new about myself, where I'm holding on to something that's actually blocking up my sound. So I'm, again, work in progress, but it stemmed from that church base. And then it's just, I'm learning, like, the dancing is how to do it correctly. Yeah.
What song in the show is the one that you look forward to the most?
Oh, man, that's hard. I almost want to say, I'm Losing You, because that's like full on tear my heart out, rock concert, blues singing, or I'll get to scream at my pains and toils of this country as a civil rights torn place. I get to scream into the audience what that pain is, but it's also so hard. It's so difficult. But it's satisfying to push myself to the limit like that. You know what I mean? Every night. So I guess I got to say that one. Otherwise, I'd have to say, I Wish It Would Rain. Because this is another time I get to kind of do that, but I can start this from a soft place, because we're all so broken in this moment. This moment in the show where we find out that Martin Luther King has been killed. I found out that my girlfriend is just, Tammy Terrell, was his love of his life, had died at 24 from a brain aneurysm, which he might have caused. So his life is destroyed in this moment. It's a moment of hopelessness. And it's such a beautiful song. The man that wrote that song, his name is slipping my mind right now, actually killed himself after he wrote it. Like, it's a heart-wrenching song. So in a way, it's therapeutic, because I get to go through even my own life, my own pains, and kind of do some healing there. Yeah.
I mean, there's tears pouring out of you. You're sweating. You're on the ground. That moment is highly emotional for the audience as well.
Good to hear.
So congratulations on that, because I felt some type of way after that. I was like, damn. But like I needed to cry. Should I go listen to that song and just cry it out? You sort of, you
Yeah,
get
it's
that
the most
release on
amazing
stage.
thing sometimes. I did the show just last week. It was a Sunday, and there's an older black man sitting in the audience, like maybe 2 rows center, right in front of me in that moment. And you know, especially older men, our older black men, we don't go to therapy. You don't do all that kind of stuff. You go to church and pray about it. You tough up. You be strong. That's what the song is about. And I saw this man just like weak and start to crack, and it floored me because men like him probably didn't get a chance to cry because they were told that it's not manly to do so. So we carry around so much baggage and so much like fake strength. We have to sort of as survival techniques that I think this show sometimes helps us to release. And myself included. So it's beautiful to watch somebody like yourself, somebody like my grandfather out there, or my dad even, be forced to deal with it finally. Yeah.
That's something that's distinct about this audience as well. The theater-going experience is still largely a white thing.
Yeah.
And when you go to this show, I did see a lot of black people in the
There's some
audience. And it's
color out
because
there.
there's 5 black leads and there's the entire cast is diverse.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean for you to be a part
my
of that inclusive part of theater
It's
where people can
huge.
come and see it?
It's huge to me. It's so huge to me. Like, first of all, being a part of a cast is that diverse, but our writer's a young black woman. You know what I mean? And she's an actual genius. She got the MacArthur grant. Like, our music director is a black man. Like, this doesn't happen on Broadway. And to be a part of it on this side of the table or that side of the stage and finally give a place to somebody like myself, I was never interested in Broadway. And if I had gotten to see this show maybe when I was a kid, I might have started this track a long time ago. So to be able to go to an audience finally after coming from a place like Hamilton and like, you know, these other huge shows where I never got to look up and see people that looked like me and see people that look like me finally, and they're beaming and they're proud and they feel spoken for. I mean, it's like, it's gave me I've always done it for these reasons, but it's kind of given me a whole nother level of why I do what I do. And to encourage and inspire, hopefully, young me's out there that can see now this is an option for you. You can do something like this with your life, or even if it's just, again, to bring the healing or the education. It's a powerful moment in history, in theatrical history, Broadway history, that I'm so honored to be a part of, that I would never want to do anything less than that. Yeah.
And it seems like you take your role really seriously as far as like what you can stand for young black men. And I know you also do some work with the ACLU and other philanthropies just on helping to strengthen the community.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because like the beautiful part about this show is I'm not playing a character. I'm playing a real man. I'm playing a person that lived and died, that had problems, that had struggles, that went through a lot of the same things that I have. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and I come from a similar background in these ways, and I've lost friends and family to all of these different systems that have set us up to literally fail and kill us and destroy us, and they always have. And who would I be to like ignore that? You know what I mean? How could I ignore that when I'm seeing little kids look like just like me getting shot in the streets by the people that's supposed to be protecting them right now? So it's always been a heavy place in my heart for these issues and a number of different issues as just human issues as well. But like to do this show in particular, I have to dig into that. I have to tap into that. And if I'm not about it in my real life, what am I saying on stage? You know what I mean? And even before this happened, before I started doing this, I was already sort of really trying to figure out who I am as an activist, what I have to be about and stand for, because I think that's the part of my life that will outlast my dancing. When I can't do no more splits, I can still march in them streets. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do, actually? And I think that I want that to be my life's work beyond the work that I've done on stage. People that I look up to, like Harry Belafonte and even Muhammad Ali and stuff like that, like what they did outside of their craft is really who made them who they are, and that's what I strive to be. So again, it's something that every day I'm on my news. You know what I mean? I'm on the news that is social media as well, because we have to know all sides of the story right now in order to, I feel, know my place, have opinions, but also just be ready to have these conversations to, I think, better help us all. So there's a number of different things, like the ACLU, like there's another organization that's great called 100 Suits that deals with helping men that have been incarcerated reinstate them into society, we help them get jobs, help them just even wear a suit to a job. You know what I mean? Things like that. Like there's an organization called Help Not Handcuffs that, again, is about like community policing and just, I know there's a number of different things and that I'm looking to be even more active in. I just started my own scholarship fund, me and my sister, she came from the same school as I did, and she's actually on tour with The Lion King right now. She's an amazing, amazing performer. And just the fact that we made it out, by coming up to New York and giving What We Love a try. We want to sponsor a young black boy and a young black girl from our high school to come and do the same thing that's looking to do so in their senior year. So, just things that I have to find out how I can give back, how you pay it forward. And then I think when it's all said and done and I'm laying in my casket, I'll be happy too,
Yeah. Well, I think when you give back, you continue to rise, right?
Absolutely.
Because you have that community supporting you, you're giving back. That's the only way it works. So
Absolutely.
It's amazing to see you have this platform and for that to be a focus of yours, for sure.
Yeah, man. Now's the time.
Yeah,
As
it
we
is.
all know, now, if there's never been a time, now is the time for us to figure out how the hell we need to come together and fix some shit. Yeah. I'm sorry I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on here.
You can say shit.
Okay, we're going to fix some shit, y'all. Because I'm tired of it. We're tired of it. We're so much better than that. And I believe in this generation. I think we can do some things that our parents' generation couldn't do. And I believe in the generation below us. What is it, Gen Z or whatever that is? They're brilliant. They're strong. The March for Our Lives crew, man, those kids they're ferocious. And I think if we continue to put the focus on things like that, as well as, I think if we do it by doing what it is that we are great at, that's how the change will happen the fastest. Yeah.
And especially through art and specifically music, right?
Music was always the thing that
much.
did it. These men went through this during the civil rights era. They were the reason that white people and black people can go to a concert right now and sing and dance together. Before them, literally before, as they started their tours, they had the black people had to be up at the top and all the white people had to be on the bottom. Or they had a rope and the blacks had to be on one side and the whites had to be on the other. But because of the sound of their voices, their pain and their struggle, riding through the South, literally getting shot at by white supremacists, the people loved their sound so much that they tore these ropes down and they started to mingle, intermix for the first time in our history. When no politician could, when none of the laws were getting written, it wasn't until this music somehow. Music has a healing power. It's a it's a universal human thing. And it brought us together somehow, which is another honor of being able to tell this story, you know what I mean? And we look out into the audience again, it's old white men, young white women, black, Asian, all alike, like we are here and everybody's rocking to this music, but also being sucked into that story. So music has that power. I love it.
Because everybody knows the Temptations.
Everybody knows it.
Even if you don't think you do, you do.
I told this girl the other day, she's like, yeah, she's like, what do you do? I was an actor. She's like, you know the Temptations? She's like, no. I was like,
Yes, you do.
you know my girl, right? She's like, oh. I was like, yeah, girl.
Yeah, that's something that surprised me. I was like, I obviously knew their catalog, but then there was like one or two songs. I was like, oh, that was them. That was them in the later years
Exactly,
or whatever. Yeah.
exactly.
We do have one question before we get out of here.
Okay.
Who do we have?
Hi, we have an online question from our site, buildseries.com.
Yeah.
So somebody wants to know, do you have any pre-show rituals? And also congrats on the Tony nomination.
Well, thank you for that. And pre-show ritual, yes. Like I said, breathing is key to this beast. So I have a whole breathing, about 5 minutes long, just getting my lungs to open and close naturally and as expansively as possible. And after that is prayer. I lead a prayer circle every show at the 5-minute/places call. And we just gather up on the stage, hold hands, breathe again, and just talk to God and invite him into our stage and say that we don't care what the audience does or thinks, we do it for him and trust that he'll light our path, Yeah.
Well, lucky for you, the audience always does enjoy what you guys do up on that stage because it is so dynamic, it is so honest, and it is real talent what you do up there. And so I thank you and the rest of the guys for your performance. It really is a joy.
Yeah.
If you guys want to check it out, Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations is showing now on Broadway at the Imperial Theater. Give it up for Ephraim Sykes.
Thanks, y'all.